And good morning, everybody. Welcome, Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. Bruce, how are you, my friend?
I am good, Eric. I mean, here we are plowing through another week of training camp at the risk of being kind of cliched. It's kind of we're into that Groundhog's Day kind of effect where one day looks like the other. Although yesterday, another hour longer than just practice was 2 days ago, right? So he has extended the window pretty aggressively here for, I think what you and I can agree on, was clearly the most physical, competitive day of practice that we have seen.
I was not able to make it to practice on Tuesday because I had a long dentist appointment, but I was there on Monday. And then obviously the start of training camp, so on and so forth. But this, as a media member, is how you know we are getting deep into training camp. The herd has been thinned tremendously with the amount of media that are there. It's usually the usual cast of characters instead of, a 22-year-old kid on his first job, driving in from Pueblo.
There still are people like that. Yes, you are observant, my friend. But yes, we'll get in by the next couple of weeks. The herd will be thinned even more, and the mainstays will be kind of taking care of business, and that's fine. I like it when it gets to that point.
I want to tell you about Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos. They always have great promotions going on right now. Their latest promotion, they're giving away a new Sea-Doo, a four-wheeler, or the cash reward from the big wheel spin, plus $7,500 in cash. Grand prize drawing weekend of August 16th. Get finals entries every 45 minutes from 10 a.m. until midnight during their daily cash drawings. And you can do that with a locked up jackpot of over $100 or more. Last time I was there a couple of weeks ago, I hit that locked up jackpot and I won $300. So when you walk in the door at Sasquatch Casino, go to the far right corner. You're going to see like 3 Monopoly machines. It's going to say Eric was here. He was a big winner. The only time in his life he has ever been a winner in his whole life. And he was only worth $300. With that, Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, a family-owned casino that treats you like family. Time now for the lead.
The lead is presented by Sasquatch Casino, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Okay, so as you mentioned, a physical day for sure at practice yesterday. It was the third straight day in pads for the guys. But I think what really popped out to most observers in the media watching were the 9-on-7s. First team offense against first team defense, both sides making plays. And really, that's what you're hoping for if you're Sean Payton. You don't want one side of the ball to dominate because then you start to question the other side of the ball. RJ Harvey showing his ability to cut in that stretch zone offense. Jaleel McLaughlin, he flashed as well. Malcolm Roach, he's always been a mouthy type of guy. He was a menace on the field, was talking. It was kind of fun watching J.K. Dobbins and the rest of the defense jawing at each other. And for Malcolm Roach, it's not like he hasn't heard this before from or Marvin Mims hasn't heard something like this before from Roach.
Yeah, I mean, it's just Malcolm Roach. I mean, I sit next to him in the locker room. The guy doesn't shut up. He's talking crap to receivers. It's like, dude, like, you're a fat guy. Like, go worry about that. Leave me alone. But, no, we're always going back and forth. But with him, it's just a whole nother deal.
What I liked about what Mims said was this. You can only take a shot. You can only be playful with someone who you like and respect. And that tells me a lot about the culture of this locker room, just with two guys. But you listen to guys, talk about other guys. And there seems to be a genuine sense of affection for the guy next to them at their locker or even across the entire locker room. Look at what happened when Courtland Sutton signed his deal. Yeah. Zach Allen goes immediately to X. Will Lutz, the kicker, immediately goes to X. And it feels like, at the very least, I don't know if it'll be a special season, but it feels like there is a special relationship between a lot of these guys. That front seven That's a tight group.
Yeah.
Secondary, that's a tight group. I'm not suggesting it is the no-fly zone. Offensive line,
Ooh, tight.
these guys have been sitting in the same room for 2+ years together. So I don't know if it's going to be a special season, but if they do something special, I can promise you they will talk about the relationships that carried over from last year and have continued to foster through this season.
Eric, you've been here longer than I have, but we've been here together in various states for the last 10 years. When questions like, how do you keep it together when the defense is doing so much more than the offense? When you start getting those questions during a season, it doesn't even mean there needs to be friction, but there's such a obvious difference about who's carrying the weight, who's carrying the load, that it becomes a question that media will ask. To your point, and I think it's a good one, I think that there is a very much a all for one, one for all, without being silly about it. I think that there is one purpose in this group. I think the defense recognizes the offense as a group that can get it done. The offense certainly recognizes the defense as a group that can get it done. So you got two groups, two teams in there that can carry the water. And if that means winning football games, then you see things like yesterday happen, and it's hilarious. But it's also a great indicator for how this team, I think, gets along. That's an OU guy giving crap to a Texas guy, but it's also an offensive player giving crap to a defensive player. Oh, and their locker mates. But it was a funny moment. One of the most funny moments I can remember in a long time. And it just really made us chuckle. And then you watched the stuff on social media between the two of them go on afterwards. And I mean, you had Roach, who you got to know a little bit about Malcolm Roach. He doesn't ever shut up. He is one of those guys. He's got a motor that's constantly going. He's a refreshing guy.
Yeah.
He really is. Very entertaining guy. But he comes back with the middle finger emoji, and then you got Mims reaching out to Tyler, who's on the PR staff, saying, "Hey, Roach needs some PR." Some PR help, some PR training. There is obviously a really good dynamic through the first, 10 days or so of work together, and even more than that, going back to OTAs, that I think can only be good for this football team.
Let's put something in perspective, and you and I have had this conversation when you started covering this team. It was right after the Super Bowl.
Sure.
And metaphorically speaking, at times during a certain season, if not the majority of the season, there was a fault line between the offense and the defense.
Right.
And there were more than a few defensive guys that were tired of having to carry the water. One reason why the defense had to carry the water is because the Broncos didn't have their, in theory, quarterback of the future. Now that Bo Nix is in place, there is so much respect for this guy. You're not going to take a shot even privately at the offense because of the respect that they have for Bo Nix. So think about how some of the defensive guys in the past have been upset with the offense. Now these guys are joking with each other, playing with each other. And that's the type. Listen, you talk about chemistry. Chemistry is only as good as the next win.
Right. Yeah.
But this team did win last year. They are expecting to win this year. And if they eventually do something special this year, and just for the sake of argument, let's say they raise that trophy at the end of the year, they will be talking about how they built a bond as a team, going back to last year, carrying over to this year, bringing in new guys who fit in well, Hufanga and Dre Greenlaw and Evan Ingram. I mean, I think it was Chase Daniel who was just out of practice saying, boy, that Evan Ingram, he's a really good culture guy for Sean Payton's team. And Sean Payton has talked a lot about culture. He recently referenced it a couple of days ago. He goes, you can't build a team that has solid culture if you don't have the right guys in the locker room.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
And I think we saw on display yesterday just how strong that bond is, that you have little Marvin Mims. I apologize. I don't mean little, but you know what I mean. Compared to Malcolm. Listen, Malcolm Roach could probably grab a fork, put Mims on it, put it next to his mouth, and swallow Mims whole. That's how much bigger Malcolm Roach is than Mims. But it's fun to see how playful that they were on social media after Mims' comment.
It really was, Eric. And I'll put it in another way. That is rightfully the headline because it was great and everybody used it and should, because it was hilarious. It was also reflective of what we just talked about. But I got something else for you too. This was their 7th practice in 8 days. They went 2.5 hours. And we are talking about the best, most active physical practice that they have had. They've piled days on one another. They've had one day off during that 8-day stretch. And I think that rightfully so, we're talking about the most active, physical, enthusiastic practice that they've had. And they've had some pretty enthusiastic practices. That was a football team yesterday, in my opinion, that looked like they had plenty of gas left in their tank. And they went 2.5 hours yesterday. There's a lot of really good things that you're starting to see about this football team, not even getting into execution yet. Those things will take care of themselves. But in terms of the dynamics, of the togetherness, of the chemistry, of just the way that they pull in the same direction, those are all very encouraging things right now for Broncos country.
Getting back to Mims, why isn't he considered the Joker over Ingram, where I can understand how Peyton is going to design plays for Ingram to make him a Joker role, but isn't Marvin Mims really a mini version of Deebo Samuel, who is a Joker, a true Joker, a wide receiver who does line up in the backfield where you can use him in so many different ways?
Yeah. I mean, I think at the end of last season, if someone had to point out a Joker-like player, he would be the one guy that you would have pointed to. The way that he came to maturity in his role was one of the more gratifying things for the Broncos last year. Hell, he almost helped. I mean, he had them on the verge of winning them a football game in Cincinnati with 2 great plays between he and Bo Nix, the long late touchdown, and then, of course, the one with time running out that got the game to overtime. Marvin Mims was a guy for them at the end of last year, and he was a guy in a lot of different ways. Not as dynamic as Deebo Samuel. Obviously, in the running game, Deebo Samuel is a much bigger, more physical player than Marvin Mims. But Mims brought that kind of quality. He created movement. He was a guy that the defense had to account for. Anytime that you are that kind of player, you're getting a lot of value out of that guy. So I'll be really interested to see how they use Marvin Mims this year. You and I were talking about this earlier, and using Marvin Mims this year with a Troy Franklin who brings a lot of very similar speed to the equation. We've seen them lining up. If you're paying attention out there, you've seen them line up in the similar formations. Those are 2 guys with unbelievable straight line speed. And what happens with straight line speed? It stretches the field. Where does that leave a defense vulnerable? In the middle of the field. Oh, Evan Ingram enters the equation then. So that you can start to see the method to the madness of what Sean will be doing with some of the talent that he has, and he's got talent.
Okay, let's play a game called How Quickly Can I Get Bruce Haertl's Credential Revoked? Okay?
Right.
Why don't you describe all the formations that you have seen so far? I'm kidding.
Let me just say. Let me just say this.
Tell
Let me just.
everybody,
I
tell
will say
everybody
this.
the inside joke and what we're not allowed to do.
You're not allowed to do any of that stuff in real time, and
Right.
really, and now they're tightening down on being able to talk about it even after practice. I will say this: the Broncos are using a myriad of formations that are very intriguing, and they've got people now that they can do that with. When you have I mean, I don't think I'm putting out any trade secrets when I can tell you that I'm seeing Dobbins and Harvey lining up in the same backfield and moving around and doing different things. I'm not going to tell you what they're doing, but there are certain formations out there that are seem fairly creative, and we're only seeing, and as with the early installs, we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg, right? So it's pretty good stuff.
Peyton and Peyton have built a defense that could dominate this year. Okay? But when you look at the offensive weapons that Sean Payton and George Payton have collected for this offense, where they all kind of do different things. You know, you talk about what Sean Payton likes at wide receiver. He likes the bigger wide receiver in a Marcus Colston, right? Yep. And he likes a bigger wide receiver in a Vele and a Bryant. But they also have straight line speed as well. And then Evan Ingram adds another dimension. And now you have some running backs who can catch the ball out of the backfield. I feel like I am watching an episode of Joy of Painting on PBS, and Bob Ross has all the alizarin crimson and phthalo blue and midnight black and titanium white that he could possibly want on his palette as he's getting ready to throw down some happy little trees.
Eric, how good of a mood has Sean Payton been in for basically all of training camp?
How about for the last year plus?
I mean, look, he, I think, has a pretty good sense of what he's got right now. And he should. I mean, he's the guy that handpicked generally these guys. Peyton handpicked these guys to fit not only the culture, but the need for the offense in particular and the defense. I mean, when you're adding guys like Dre Greenlaw and Hufanga, I mean, you're adding real pieces that can make you better. So I think that there's a Cheshire cat kind of, posting up on the fence with that kind of blank eating grin that Sean has right now. There's work to be done, and there's work being done. But I think that he, rightfully so, feels like we've got guys now. We've got weapons, and we've got weapons in places where we need them.
I'm glad you brought that up. You're right. They do have weapons where they need them. And then you look at the defensive side of the ball. And who's the first name that comes to mind? Pat Surtain. Yeah. And you just brought up Hufanga. All those guys combined with all of their superpowers, you can make the case, aren't even the strength of this team. We'll talk about what the strength of this team really is next.
Spice up your next night out at Nola Jane and Lodo. Authentic Cajun cuisine like andouille sausage gumbo with dirty rice, crawfish etouffee, as well as 6 different po' boys like soft-shell crab and shrimp. Come in before or after a game at Ball Arena. Host a party or party on their rooftop deck overlooking Market Street during happy hour from 11 a.m. to 5. Plus, Nola Jane caters, delivers, and the kitchen is open late night. Make Nola Jane your new favorite spot to eat, drink, and party like it's Mardi Gras.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a new Sea-Doo, 4-wheeler, or the cash award from the Big Wheel Spin, plus $7,500 in cash. The grand prize drawing is the weekend of August 16th, and get finalist entries every 45 minutes from 10 a.m. to midnight during their daily cash drawing, with a locked-up jackpot of $100 or more. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos. Loose slots, great promotions, great food, and a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch in the DTC. Both locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook is a hangout bar or great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, the DTC, and coming soon to Parker. They are the sports bar.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corned bake. Man, you gotta try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Ferguson's Heating and Cooling is the best in Denver, and their customers agree. Ferguson's has 165 5-star Google reviews, and here's one from Betsy. Highly professional, prompt, and honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I became aware my former company was trying to sell me a whole new system I didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working, family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts and equipment, and they always show up on time. You can trust the Ferguson family like you trust your own family. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Back, Hot Takes Goodman and Haertl. Want to tell you about Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. They have locations all over the place. The one that is most local in the Denver metro area is off of 36 in Pecos. This isn't just the best barbecue spot in town. It's a great restaurant because Dave had a past life. He had other types of restaurants, and he has taken great barbecue ingredients and made them really, really creative on the menu. I mean, generally speaking, you can get pulled pork pretty much at any barbecue place, right? So what does he do? He takes the pulled pork and he puts it into a menu item, which is called the Heart Attack. 2 jalapeno cheddar biscuits topped with bacon, pulled pork, shredded cheese, with 2 over easy eggs. I mean, that's great texture when you're biting into that. And it comes with their house-made sausage gravy. That is how you create a menu of great barbecue items and then going next level with it. Highly recommend you go there. Plus, all their desserts are homemade as well. That bread pudding is absolutely fantastic. Go check out Smokin' Dave's off of 36th and Pecos. Time now for What's Trending.
What's trending on Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl? Brought to you by Mile High Sports.
Of course, we're going to spend a lot of time, always talking about the quarterback position and Bo Nix. We just spent a lot of time talking about Mims and Franklin and that wide receiver group and Harvey and Dobbins, all the skill position players, okay? But the basic fundamental of football is not throwing and passing. It's blocking and tackling. And they have that covered big time. I go back to my childhood watching the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears had Walter Payton, one of the greatest, if not the greatest running back of all time. But how did they build their team starting in 1979? They built it with Dan Hampton, defensive end, with Mike Singletary out of Baylor, high draft pick, with Keith Van Horn, tackle, first-round draft pick, Jimbo Covert, Hall of Famer, tackle as well. They built it in the trenches. And we can talk all day about Bo Nix, and rightfully so, and all the weapons that Bo Nix now has. But at the end of the day, when you look at the Broncos offensive line and their front 7 in the trenches, combined, when you look at every roster in the NFL, you can easily make the case that no one is better in the trenches than the Broncos this year.
Well, certainly in total, right?
That's what I mean.
In terms of
total.
In terms of
And that,
starting,
but hold on. That's how the Bears were built.
Yeah,
they were
absolutely.
built from the inside out, not the outside in.
And they've got depth too in both positions now. So you're too deep on offense, on the offensive front. Pretty talented, pretty versatile. And then on defense, I think that you've got some guys that may be surprising you a little bit. I think Hugh Robinson is a guy that could potentially surprise. We're talking front seven now. I think that Savion Jones is a very intriguing guy in terms of his strength, and we'll see about his ability. But they've got very good depth. Anytime that you can start with that kind of foundation for any football team along the trenches, the moorings of something to build on, you are going to be a better football team. You can show me skill sets all day long, and you know what? You can win with some skill sets. I mean, the Cincinnati Bengals have got some damn good skill sets, don't they? Quarterback, receivers, running. They got guys all over the field that are like, damn, you got to account for all these guys. But you know what? They also have the 28th ranked offensive line in the NFL that gives up sacks like, they're at Whole Foods, or actually I should use King Soopers, probably cheaper there. But anyway, and their defensive front. Now they've got a pretty good guy. They just got back, but you get my point. You've got to have the basics indicate you've got to have that foundation on which to build. The Broncos not only have that now, Eric, but they have it really for at least another couple of years to come. And that is a huge piece of the puzzle for the Broncos moving forward, because it allows you to go out and work on some of those skill positions in a little bit of a different fashion. I mean, imagine a T. Higgins with this offense. Maybe they were 2 years a little too early to start thinking about getting a guy like T. Higgins. But I mean, if you had a player like that, and I'm not saying that I would trade him out for anybody. I mean, I probably would, but you get my point. They can start being in the market for some of these other players. They're getting the whole building redone. It's like Sean said earlier this week or the end of last week. All of a sudden now we're becoming a destination. It's a lot easier to sell this now with all of the things, their physical program and all of the things that go with it, their facilities, their ownership, all of those things play into it. Pretty cool.
I'm not going to suggest the guy that I'm going to bring up right now is ticketed to the Hall of Fame anytime soon. I'm not suggesting he's ever going to be an All-Pro. I'm not suggesting he's going to be a Pro Bowler. But what I can tell you is this. If Drew Sanders does not get injured, if Alex Singleton does not break his thumb, Lavelle Bailey would get picked up by somebody.
Oh, no question.
He's their fifth option at inside linebacker. And watching him on the field yesterday, forget about the fact that he seamlessly blended in to the defense. The guy was walling off ball carriers.
Yeah. He's had 3 better than good days, 3 great days. He's a playmaker. He's in the space where the ball is. He makes 3 days ago, or 3 practices ago, I guess it'd be 3 days ago, he made plays on Kroll where he broke up a play late when Kroll was bringing a ball in, and then he created a fumble late in a possession as well against the same player, ironically. He's just around the ball, and he's an athlete. And as Sean Payton likes to say, he looks like a linebacker. And what that means is he's big, physical, strong, and he moves well side to side. So I agree. That's a guy that you need to pay really close attention to, because he is going to be in some form of rotation at the inside linebacker spot. And he does give them a cushion when you start thinking about not having Singleton and not having Sanders right now at practice. It's pretty remarkable.
All right, NFL.com's Jeffrey Chadia wrote an article titled "The Biggest Challenge Facing Every Team This Season." His challenge for the Broncos was keeping Greenlaw, Hufanga, and Engram healthy this year. Chadia wrote, "The Broncos can be scary if all three players leave their woes behind. All of them were injured last year. But at least there's a chance that each of them ends up disappointing because of health issues." Do you think that's the Broncos' biggest challenge this year? And if not, what is it?
I think it's their biggest challenge. We have talked about, now their depth is better collectively around the roster. Is it still to the point where I think that Peyton would like to have it? Probably not quite yet, but within the next year or so, I think they probably will be there. But anytime that you have the number of games missed collectively from three players last year in that triumvirate, and those are three guys that you're counting on heavily in positions of need, yeah, there's a little hesitation right there. I think the one thing that can derail, and I don't want to even use the term derail, but that can be challenging for the Broncos, as it is for any team in the NFL, is your depth and your health. Once your health starts getting compromised, it eats away at that depth really, really quickly, man. And when you start getting to third level guys, it's a totally different thing in this league because it's hard to build that deep into your roster. It just is. So, yes, to me, and that means, I mean, the guys that we're thinking about are obviously Bo Nix. You got to keep Bo Nix healthy. You want to be strong up the middle, so you want to keep Singleton. You want to keep Greenlaw. You want to think Jones and Hufanga. You want those guys to be healthy. It works that way along the middle of the offensive line and the middle of the defensive line as well. If you stay healthy, you've got a lot of you got chances to win a lot of games.
There's one thing that you say about a new business that opens, specifically a restaurant. If you can make it for 3 years, I'm not saying you're necessarily on your way, but you've made it through 3 years financially, man hours, so on and so forth. You've built a system. It doesn't mean that business goes on muscle memory and you just let it coast. But once you make it 3 years, now you have yourself a business. I found it interesting that was this writer was health. The Broncos have stayed healthy pretty much for 2 consecutive years.
Yeah.
Let's look at the 2 injuries they're dealing with that have nothing to do with Bo Lowry. Bo Lowry had no control over, no matter how much stuff he gives those guys to stay in shape or make sure they're all stretched out. There's nothing that Lowry could have done to prevent Alex Singleton from breaking his thumb. There is nothing. Well done. Was it that thumb that he broke?
I don't know if it was left or right, to be honest.
Okay.
So
with that, you look at Drew Sanders' injury. You can only do so much stretching on your foot. Okay. It is considered a soft tissue injury, but not like a hamstring, not like a shoulder, so on and so forth. So when you look at the injury history over the last 2 years, to me, it's kind of like a business that has been going for 3 years.
Interesting.
It has become a situation where now it is more of the norm, and it's now a pattern. It's no longer luck. It is now 2 straight years. That's a pattern. 2 years doesn't seem like much, but when you're playing 35 to 40 games where you're relatively healthy, that is a pattern.
Eric, you and I were out there yesterday through the entire practice. They stretched aggressively before they got into their work. And then they stretched. And then hold on. You don't need to cut me off. Just hold on for a second. And then at the end of practice,
Yes.
they stretched aggressively.
Right.
So you had two different sessions where they were really attending to that. And as you and I have talked about this, and you brought this up yesterday, and it was a really good observation by you. Guys take the stretching seriously.
Yes.
It's not guys just out there, hey, okay, I'm going to grab, my toes and this, that, and the other thing. Peace out, I'm done. It's guys really attending to the seriousness of the movements that they're making, partly because of what you just got done talking about. The results speak for themselves. Follow the regime. Do it the right way. It's part of what the culture of this franchise is right now. Do things the right way. Don't half-ass it. Don't cut corners. Do it the right way. And that's one of the reasons I think that this franchise is trending in the right direction.
Well, let's look at not the two top players, but maybe the two leaders, however you want to put it. Let's look at the top two guys, in theory, on each side of the ball, or one on each side of the ball. Bo Nix, Pat Surtain. They line up across from each other.
Yes.
When they stretch. Those guys, you can tell, take that seriously, which permeates to everybody else. And I have made that observation in previous shows that we've done together.
Yep.
Bo Nix takes his stretching seriously. It sounds silly, like, well, who gives a shit if he takes it seriously? Can he throw the ball? Can he score points? Is he going to win games? But it's all part of the equation of being successful. I was standing next to my friend Nate Jackson, who you know very well.
Sure.
Nate and I do a show on Guerrilla Sports. And we were talking about stretching because I remember watching practices in the past, even when he played under Shanahan. Your big guys, your offensive lineman, your defensive lineman, they are simply going through the motions during stretching for most training camps, for most practices that I have seen over the course of covering the NFL for 30 years now. Some guys take it seriously, and then a bunch of guys half-ass it. Every single guy, it looks like, is taking this stuff pretty seriously.
Yeah. Well, I think that they're expected to. And when you have, and you just talked about the two key guys that others take cues from, right? And the veterans certainly take their cues from them. So the rookies and the younger players are taking cues from the veterans. So it's one big happy family in terms of understanding the things that need to be done. They may seem like little things, and maybe in other places that they've been, maybe they weren't as important as they are here, but it's part of what is expected. It is part of what is attractive about this football team right now. You talked about the 2 years of data that they have now. That's a trend. You're absolutely right. That is something or other that they're very proud of, and the longer you can keep these guys on the field, the better chance you have to win games. You only get 17 chances. You only get 17.
Well, hopefully you get more chances.
Yes, right.
And that
you get
extends
17,
now,
and you hope you get 3 or 4 more, right?
Let's give a quick Cortland Sutton update, who recently signed his contract extension. Didn't play much 7-on-7. Didn't play much 11-on-11. When he was there, waited to sign his contract. Sean Payton understood it. Now he's practicing full tilt. Let's give a quick update, and I'll ask you a simple question. How did he look against Pat Surtain for a guy who really hasn't practiced that much?
His one-on-one yesterday was about as much as – remember the touchdown that Davante Adams scored against Surtain late in the game about 2 or 3 years ago? Late in the game.
Ask me what I had for lunch yesterday.
Well, it was the one time that I've seen Pat Surtain beaten pretty badly in a game. And right. He had done a really good job on Adams previously, but Davante Adams made a play late in the game it was the only other time that I've seen Pat Surtain turned around like that and beaten. Sutton was really good in one-on-ones. He was particularly good in the play that I'm talking about that you and I saw yesterday, where he made a little hitch move. Surtain bit on it, and then Sutton peeled off and scored deep. In a one-on-one situation, that was the drill, that was a touchdown, for lack of a better description. Courtland Sutton has hit the ground running. Don't worry about Courtland Sutton. He'll be just fine.
That's going to do it for us. Hot Takes Goodman and Haertl. Another day of training camp today. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. Make it the best possible day you can.